I'm looking at the moment at some fabulous axolotls, and they're clutching hearts and they're making heart signs, and it's a kind of this is really obviously joyful, exuberant as a piece of work. And what I can see in that is those are the fellows. So that's how they start. That's in a sketchbook. That's something that you drew one evening, I guess, after a hard day of animation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a color pencil.
Where did the idea to draw an axolotl come from?
I don't know. I just got inspired by it. And then it was Valentine's was coming up, and I went, well, better do something, I guess.
Hi, and welcome to the latest Vieunite Art in Focus podcast. It's my pleasure today to be joined by Marta Tesoro, an animator and illustrator with more than 20 years of experience in the industry. Her work is innovative, it's playful. If I could only describe her work using one word, that one word would be joy. Marta, hi.
Hi, I'm joining you guys from Australia. Well, around the Victoria region. So, Melbourne for anyone that's kind of outside of Australia. So
fantastic. And what kind of work do you make?
Oh, it depends. But I work as an animator, 2D animator. When I'm not illustrating, and just doing my own thing outside. Surface pattern design. I do quite a lot.
You do. You work in so many different ways. You work in surface pattern design, as you said, illustration, animation as well. Most people aren't that multi-talented, so you've got a lot going on, and I can't wait to get in it with you. But
thank you.
To ask the first question, to give a flavour for people who don't know your work, if your art could talk, what would it say?
Oh, I'm erratic. I like doing whatever I want to do at the time. This is what I feel like doing. This is what's going to happen. Detailed, colorful. Mm-hmm. A lot going on more often than not.
Mm-hmm. So something I like to do at the beginning of these interviews is to go way back to the beginning. And you were really generous and shared, I think it's the earliest piece of your art that you still have in your possession. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. So could you describe what we're looking at? I've got it on my other screen at the moment, and we'll, of course, be sharing this with our viewers. But what are we looking at?
It is all the characters that I used to love watching when I was 15 years old. So a whole bunch of anime. We're talking Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Ranma 1/2, Sailor Moon.
So this is like a kind of class photo of your early enthusiasms.
Yeah, I would say my first freelance gig was actually, doing fan art drawings of these characters for my schoolmates. So,
right.
and this is the only one I didn't sell. I mean, I refused to sell because it's a lot. There's a lot of characters. I think there's I stopped counting at 45, and I think I it's hard not to miscount. There's
yes, it's quite an entourage. So, but this piece was made for you, by you.
Yes.
Yeah. And at the time, you were making a little bit of side money by doing these commissions from your peers who are also into the same kind of stuff.
Exactly. And it's a lot of people still do that today, but that was probably the last time I did fan art for commission base. So when I was a teenager, before heading into making my own illustrations and my own characters at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big thing on social media now, isn't it? You see young artists who are doing commissions for each other, but I guess that when you were doing that, was it mediated by social media, or was it just people that you knew at school and college?
Just people that I knew at school. There was no social media back then.
No.
Instagram or Facebook. I don't even think the internet was around just yet. Or if it was, I certainly wasn't really on it.
So this is what you did when you were 15. Is this how you got started as an artist? Was this your introduction to beginning to think about yourself as a creative person?
I always love drawing and love drawing my own characters, but I think this is the one that actually doing the fan art was when I first started doing watercolors. First time I drew male characters because I always just used to draw girls and my first male character was one of the characters on that painting with a with a pair of high heels because I was that so used to drawing girls all the time. So yeah, I mean, learning the male anatomy through anime is probably not the best way to go about doing it. All right, I mean, proper books.
I can imagine. The mind boggles.
But that's kind of how I got into it. I mean, sure, I had proper art books, but there's just something, when you're a kid and you see bright, colorful, and yeah, they're not anatomically correct, but they're fun characters that you relate to and, like watching on TV. So as an artist, for sure, I wanted to draw them. I wanted to draw them doing the things. I wanted to mishmash couple, I wanted to see that character with that character. So that's what I did.
Yeah. And
and by the way, I was 15 in 96, so that's a long, long time ago. 1996. So there's no...
By that point, I was coming towards the end of my degree, so I know how long ago that is. Believe me, I'm starting to feel properly ancient. So, were you making art as part of your studies as well? Were you studying art at that point?
No, God, no. I was still in high school, an Asian high school at that, the Philippines, Art's a thing you do in the side when you have some free time. Now go do your math homework and get a proper job, for the future, of course. But, everyone was more like thinking, pressure of going to a good college to do a proper job.
Yeah. So
I still wanted to do art anyway. I was going to go for art regardless. Didn't matter. But it wasn't really thought of as much. So no, the art stuff was what I did. Probably should have studied Philippine history a bit more. But I don't use it now, do I?
So there was a little break in recording just then because Marta realised that. I think it's probably a reflection of the industry that you work in. There was some artwork behind you that could possibly have been copyrighted. So we've had a little bit of a decor change. And now we're picking up again with the questions around how you got started. So you shared the image that you made when you were 15 years old for yourself of all of your favourite characters from anime and your early entrepreneurial bent, which I can still very much see in your work. And you mentioned that you weren't studying art at school. It wasn't part of the school curriculum. But then...
They had a small, your art course, but it wasn't, a lot. I think every school, high school has that little, an art class thing that you do for an hour. Mm-hmm. But it's mostly, you do a project. There was one where you... oh yeah, no, you're bringing back trauma. That's what you're doing. That's in this interview. I'm just like, no wonder I forgot about the art school thing. Because I went to a religious school. One of the projects I now remember is that there was a huge group class in one of my art classes, a memorable one, and we had to do some sort of religious thing, and we all had to, sew or draw up different patterns of some sort of nativity type scene, and I was gone. Ugh, yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it's just that it's not really what I want to draw, is it?
But no wonder then that in the meantime you're finding another outlet for your enthusiasms and you're creating these drawings for your classmates who have got a hunger for it too, because it sounds like, well, I mean, if you stop a kid from getting something that they want, they're probably going to find a way of obtaining that thing anyway. I mean, I've got children and I know that that's how they work. So when nothing is more likely, I would say, to make someone like, damn it, I'm going to be an artist, than being told they can't be.
Yeah, actually. Spite will get you far in life.
So how did your spite, as you put it, propel you to art school in Australia?
I took a lot of electives in high school. I got here around year 11, year 12 already. So, got to pick my own electives and yeah, and then we went to an open uni day and all that, open uni days, and I actually found animation being offered at one of the universities, but it was only as a postgrad. So I went, yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that after 3 years of something else, whatever I can get into. That's still art related. I managed to
What
get
was that
into
other thing?
visual. I got into visual arts and I majored in painting. And then after that, that's when I moved into animation. Studying visual arts was interesting. um, I think I learned more in my electives. That's when I discovered Photoshop for the first time in one of my digital electives, and I actually took an illustration elective as well, which was great. But the actual major as well, the painting, was just to how to say, can't really get a job doing that. My best marks came from when instead of, drawing something that I wanted to draw, like plants, flowers at the time, I think. And yes, I still like drawing anime and stuff like that. But, I did draw more realistic things as well. But my highest marks came from abstract stuff. And I just went, ugh. And I only did that as a piss take on one of the semesters just to prove something. Because I was only getting average marks. So I just went, well, all right, I'm gonna actually make an effort and come up with something, I don't know, artsy fartsy about the state of the world or perception, whatever. So what I did was that I drew giant, like A1 sizes of triangles. That's what I drew, triangles.
Fascinating subject.
Triangles for an entire semester.
Wow.
And I don't
there's
have
a joke in
single
there.
one.
I'm sure that there's a joke in there. You drew triangles, but where's the point?
The point was to get a high mark, all right? Just to say I can. Just to say I know what the system is. This is how I know what the system is. And then after that, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want because I don't really want to do this.
So then you did that. You left that environment and you went and did the animation postgrad that was your ultimate ambition.
That was the one. I was so happy I got in. I was really worried that I wasn't going to get in there. So, and no, I really enjoyed it. Admittedly, it's a good thing that when I started that course, they actually introduced the program that I would be using afterwards. They weren't like quite into it yet because digital animation was really just coming into full force using Flash, Adobe Animate now for people. And yeah, it's
So this was back in the early noughties.
when was I there? I'm just gonna check my thing. It says I graduated in 2002. So yeah, 2001, 2001, 2002. I was there in 2003 for when I did the masters. Probably wasn't necessary. I mean, you do the masters if you want to teach, and I realized very early on that I just did it for a backup in case I need to teach, in case I don't get a job. But I will most likely be able to teach at least, maybe.
So you then how did you? Because you've been working pretty much continuously. You're in demand. You've got this great career. How did that start? How did you land your first gig?
Funnily enough, that's through the postgrad, my first one. I got recommended to do educational animations at the Australian Centre of Educational Research. And
Sounds prestigious.
Yeah. Though I was in a cubicle animating, it's not fun. But they were very nice people, and it did, I improved my Flash animation skills through that, animating volcanoes and test tubes and whatever else. It was a long time ago. I can't actually remember half the things I animated, but I was there for 7 months. And then there was an opening for an actual TV series gig. I actually met the studio owner while I was still studying animation at school. And, he gave me some advice based on my reel, like never sell yourself short for starters. Don't say just. That's what I just did this. I'm going, no, say it directly. I did that. This is what I did. And, there's no point putting yourself down.
No.
Gotta, if you don't believe in your work, who else is going to believe in it, yeah?
Absolutely. So tell me, like a showreel is a really important part of your industry, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, schooling's great. They'll probably, look at, especially back in the day when you had the paper CV, but it was always the reel. I mean, I think more often than not, I would say animation studios will look at your show reel first, and then at where you're from and all the other details. I mean, why would they waste their time looking at all that when they can just look at what you've done and then make a call from that?
No, absolutely, that totally makes sense. Do you have any advice for people who are just starting out when it comes to some very sort of quick fire advice about how you put together a show reel?
Nothing too long. And definitely always just choose your best work. Don't pad it out. Don't feel like you need to pad it out. If 20 seconds is all you've got, 20 seconds is all you'll put in. Remember, it's the first 10 seconds, maybe even less less nowadays. I mean, it used to be that a show reel length would be about a minute and a half when I graduated. I thought that was, that wasn't okay. But nowadays, think of it like a commercial. Less is, if you have a minute, great. But always put your best stuff at the front because there's a good chance they're not going to make it to the end. I would say 30, 40 seconds is probably best. But just don't feel like you need to pad it out. I keep saying that. It's like going, you have reels that maybe go for about a minute, and I just go and I think, well, I've already seen that's the same, not the same footage, but obviously the same body of work, or it's just from the same film that you've been showing, snippet-wise, and it's not even the best. You should pick the best stuff out of every project is what is my rule anyway.
What about range of techniques, range of...
Oh, yeah, definitely a range. I mean, show walk cycles. That's a big thing for action shots, some talking shots. Show a range. But again, show your best. Don't feel like you need to pad it. Oh, and don't use copyrighted music. I mean, back in the day, that's one of the things I fell short at that as well, until YouTube said, you're using copyrighted music. Bye-bye to your upload.
We're back to copyright
but I didn't know. Yeah, but I didn't know at the time. I mean, copyright was a thing that I learned along the way. It's probably one of the reasons why I don't sell fan art anymore, even though I'm probably a little bit better at it now than I was back then.
I'm sure.
I mean, no shade towards anyone that makes their living, of course, making fan art or anything like that. It's like, well, you do you. It's what you enjoy. However, for myself, it's like, well, it's not mine. It's trademarked by somebody else, and I'd be very careful about that sort of thing. That's all. Because, if somebody gives you a cease and desist or a takedown notice, well, they can because it's not yours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important that creatives can rely on their intellectual property being respected and them having a degree of control over it, because that's what enables those creatives to profit from their work. And it's a tough business.
It is. Speaking of going back to the Showreel, though, that's another thing. I mean, especially if you're an animator that's in the industry, always check your contract, because if you have there are rules there sometimes on how to use footage for your reels. And each studio is different. So, it's probably best to ask permission, or at least if there's a blanket rule of once it's normally safe. No, it used to be anyway. That if it screens, and if the whole season's done, it's fine. Put it on your reel. But something like, let's say, like a pilot, and if it hasn't been sold or anything, you can never put that in your reel because well, it's a pilot. It hasn't been sold yet. It hasn't been aired anywhere yet, so you probably can't ever put that thing on your reel unless, of course, the studio says you can. So NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, are a very big thing. So make sure to read your contracts.
That's sage advice, I think, for any artist working in any kind of discipline or field. It's read your contracts.
Yes.
Know what it says. Know what you're signing up to. Because
you know
I'm just
what
guessing.
You're signing away.
Well, for sure, and because I guess as well that if you there's two issues here. So as you put it, know what you're signing away. Are you being paid properly for the work you're doing in the present? Because if you're signing away that copyright, you're not going to profit from it in the future. Mm-hmm. And the second consideration would be, I guess, your reputation as someone that's responsible, reliable, is going to be crucial to whether you're going to be hired to work on the next animation project or not.
Yes, though I found my industry fairly forgiving. I mean, I know a lot of these because it actually happened to me where I made a mistake. You're in your 20s. Sometimes you don't even, like contracts. I signed the thingy and you pay me. That's what. That's the.
Tell me more if you can.
Oh, look, I once put something on my reel. That's why I know that you don't put pilots in your reel, because I did put one on my reel. And then the one who we did it for actually called the studio that I did it for, who then called me and said, now you've got to remove that from your reel.
Wow.
Yeah, so it happens. And luckily, they all knew me, so I just went, it was a mistake. So no harm, no foul. But,
No, fair enough. That's important learning.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I mean, I was already done with the studio, so I thought, oh, well, I need another job, don't I? So I put stuff in my reel, and I wasn't supposed to. Yeah, it's a good thing that social media for me didn't exist back then. Imagine the mistakes you could make.
Yeah, the damage would spread much more quickly, wouldn't it? Harder to contain a problem these days, right?
Yeah, well, back then the damage was contained just by sending one email link and just go, look, this is my thing, this is my reel, what do you think? And then somebody go and say, you're not supposed to put that on there. You go, oops, sorry.
So let's fast forward to the present. Could you talk us through a typical day in your creative life?
Well, it depends what I'm doing, really. I mean, like this morning is animating. I start from 9 to 5. I log in, I make sure that they all know I'm there, and I have scenes assigned to me, and I make it happen. So
you're working in your studio, where you're calling us from today, with your skeleton colleague behind you. Yeah,
well, he's management. Yeah, he makes sure I do the work.
Well, he's not being paid enough. I think he needs a square meal. But so you're sitting at the computer behind you.
Yes, that's my all my equipment and all that. So Cintiq tablets are great. So you don't need one that big, but I didn't used to have one, but it makes illustrating and hand-drawn animation so much better when you can actually draw it.
And so when you're animating, you work out that station, you work throughout the day, I guess, from home. And then where does your illustration fit in? Where does your other creative pursuits? Because you got so many creative outlets, that the work of yours that I knew about first wasn't your animation. It was, I think, probably your surface pattern design that I first saw. And then there was so much more to your portfolio. So when does all that other stuff happen?
Weekends normally, and after hours for sure. That's the beauty about working from home. The clock strikes 5, and if I'm not behind or anything, it's like, whoops, just quickly swap over to the next one, and then I'll probably draw till about 8 or 9, and then go and do other things. Chill.
Your animation work is entirely digital workflow.
Yes.
But your illustration and surface pattern design, is that analog? I mean, how do you do that?
I still do a half-half.
Yeah.
It's where I still do a lot of hand-drawn, hand-painted, hand-colored. Right now I'm in a color pencil. I'm back to a color pencil and Copic marker phase. I was in a gouache painting phase a few months back, and then brush painting a few months before that. I like to switch it up because it's it's kind of tiring to be in front of the computer all the time. So, after this, it's just nice to chill out on the couch with a sketchbook. And that's why I don't have an iPad either. It's because, again, it's just digital again, isn't it? I just want something where, I can manually do some, and I find it more relaxing for me anyway, because I grew up with traditional media, and I went to, like I said, went to paint art school and all that. So for me, it's just more natural still to do it all hand drawn, and then do the magic of Photoshop, correct all my mistakes, just like magic. Just like magic, now it's fine. Ink spill, dirt, whatever, it's gone.
But there's a quality of the handmade that makes its way into your surface pattern design and into your illustration as well. I mean, I can see it. I can see the strokes.
Yeah, and I like that. And that's, for me, that just gives it, I suppose more handmade. I mean, there are definitely brushes and everything like that can emulate that, especially in Procreate and Photoshop. But for me, it's still, I don't know. I feel like there's still more body, more volume when you have a traditional work that gets scanned and then gets tweaked and, fixed up in Photoshop. I just think it just feels more, I don't know. I don't know what a good word to describe. Just more solid, more real, I guess.
Yeah.
Not so flat.
No, I get that, and there's a kind of connection between the mark you're making, who you are physically, your personality. There's a kind of flow from one to the other. There's more of an intimate connection between the handmade artifact and the artist, I think, that comes through.
Well, I think
more
so.
individuality, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, Photoshop can only fix so much. A dodgy drawing is still a dodgy drawing, isn't it? Unless you're
And I guess in animation, you don't want that, because if you're working on a collaborative project with a team of maybe, 20 other colleagues, if you all had your own different styles, that would be a mess.
Yes. Well, it makes continuity very difficult. And so, most pipelines nowadays would be, well, it would be digital. It would be with a rig or a model that everyone has to emulate. Like, characters, they get given full turnarounds. All those characters, everyone knows what they look like front to back and all that. So, and from there, well, at least through the productions I've worked in, a lot of them, if they're not hand-drawn productions, because I have worked on those as well, where it's called a rig, where you can just move, you select things and then you just move arms and all that, and then maybe redraw hands. Occasionally you redraw.
Why do you have to redraw hands?
Well, not every hand's drawn up in there, I mean, there's probably like 10, 20 fists in there, but they still may not have the exact one that you need, so you'll probably need to tweak it anyway. But that type of way of doing things means that you don't have to redraw the forearm or the upper arm and the torso area, especially heads. At least you don't have to keep redrawing the heads every time. You can probably get away with a lot of others, from other body parts. But if the face and the head look off, it looks off.
So a rig is like a kind of, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's like a kind of digital mannequin.
Yeah, like a model, just not unlike that skeleton over there.
A rig is like a digital mannequin. It's like a file that you can move around within whatever animation package you're using. And you've got something to work from straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too unlike a 3D model, where, except that 3D models, really, you don't need to hand draw anything, obviously, being 3D. But, again, it's like getting a mannequin given to you, and it's up to you to, swap the views in 2D land, where You know, they give you a front view, you have a side view, you have a back view, and then you make it work that way, depending on whatever scene you're doing.
So let's go back to your illustration surface pattern design. Where does your art go? Where's the audience for that work?
Well, I post a lot on Instagram. That's my main social media and Facebook. But I also like to send it through licensing. So I'm with Artshine Licensing, so I send my work there. Redbubble, so get stuff
Wow!
like these.
So you're wearing one of your designs today. Fantastic.
I am. So see.
Wonderful. Where can people go and see more of your surface pattern design?
Well.
So we can put your Redbubble shop on the screen.
Yes.
Share that information. Yeah.
Yes, please. That'd be lovely. Thank you. But Redbubble, TeePublic. I mean, I've been a few print-on-demand sites. It's only because I just there's not that much time in the day, and I'm not fully focused on building my own shop, my website, and actually doing all the marketing for that. So yes, print on demand, you get less back. We're talking 30%, 10% back of whatever it is you design. But at the end of the day, I don't have to I don't have to mail the thing. I'm not the one doing customer service.
So
I'm not the one making the thing.
Right. You literally just upload your designs in the right resolution. And then when somebody wants to buy a garment, like the wonderful garment you're wearing with the sort of aquatic theme on it.
Jellyfish. I love jellyfish.
Jellyfish. That they can, that garment is manufactured on demand and then sent to the person without you having to get involved in the technicalities of that. It sounds like a really kind of clever way of monetizing your creativity.
I think so. I mean, like I said, there's, the best way to do it would be to connect with customers and obviously build your own website and sell through something, but and sell it yourself so you can actually, check quality and all that. Because sometimes you never know. Quality can vary because I'm not quite sure who's manufacturing what exactly. You know what I mean? But as a side thing, this type of thing suits me quite well, where I just upload, where I do the joy of designing, but not all the not all the businessy stuff for it.
So, what advice do you have for people who may be listening about how you get into print on demand and things that you should look out for?
To look out for, well, kind of the Redbubble is one that I do because I've been on it since it first started. A lot of people have bailed on it because they've changed a lot of policies and all that. So you have to find a print-on-demand thing that works for you. There's quite a lot out there. There's Society 6, even though I hear that they've changed a few things as well. TeePublic, or you do your own stores and go and do it through Printful or Printify. And there's a whole lot of, there's other ones like Cow and that do a lot of different products and things that have print on demand that have been around for ages as well. And I don't know what their quality is like because I don't have their, I've never done it through them, but I do know of them like Zazzle. that's been around for yonks. But it kind of depends on what you're after, really. I mean, I'm just happy to have some side things happening for me here and there. And another thing to look out for is that obviously once you have a design out there, it can always get stolen. So
yeah. So are there any ways in which you can look out for that or try and prevent that from happening or find out when it has happened and issue takedown notices? Is that something that you can do, and is it something that you do?
Yes, on occasion. If I find it, then I have to. It depends. If I find it on the site, then I have to report it to the site there and say, this is my stuff. And it's a bit of a process. I don't do it as often as I probably should.
But trust is really important, isn't it, in this issue? If you're picking a platform to work with in print on demand, or you're working with licensing, trust is crucial.
Yes, very much so. So, when I do spot it, I do try and, send some lawyers after them, really, more than anything. So, I mean, it's just something you have to do. And a lot of artists I know experience that. But,
Yeah,
people get their stuff nicked on Instagram as well, which is so irritating. So,
for sure. Absolutely.
and then now you have to contend with AI scraping as well. So that's fun and games for everyone
Another
involved.
Absolutely. Another whole situation emerging with that. But in terms of the licensing, we're absolutely thrilled to have your work in the Vieunite Art Library.
Yay.
And
Thank you.
anyone who wants to enjoy your work in their own home is able to do that right now through the Vieunite app and to display it on a text or a canvas. And they could even do that, in your case, while wearing one of your amazing garments.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? That would be so cool.
So,
I still get a kick out of it, seeing people.
I know, I
wear my
bet you do,
stuff.
because it must be, it's not just about the money, I imagine, it's also about building an audience and knowing that your work's got a kind of life, am I right?
Yes. I mean, it's nice knowing that it's not just stuck in my, well, on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
That it is just out there, and I do like it. I do like seeing, being sent photos every now and then of going, hi, I bought your stuff on Redbubble. I mean, I
Yeah,
can be
wow.
contacted. Just customers do. You can
That
contact.
must be lovely. Yeah, so in a way,
it is.
that's like your own fan art now, isn't it?
It is in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And so your work's out there, your creativity's real. It's part of culture and society, and it's sparking joy in other people's lives.
I'd like to think so. And being print on demand is like, I would like to think we're not, because it only gets printed if somebody wants to buy it. It's not really wasteful, I find.
Yeah.
Whereas versus if I had like a stack of 10, 20 shirts waiting here to be mailed, and who knows if that's,
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. So I think we should have a very close look at one of the pieces of work now, which is actually available on the Vieunite library. And the piece of work that I think we're going to talk about is in the Mecca series, and it's Mecca Sea Life.
I love that series. For me, it's I tend to go through stages, and I think I drew about 100 of those of fishbony type of characters for like a year or so, and those ones came from like an old zine I drew. So here's another advice: is that save your old artwork. You never know. Like, you could always give it new life. So they were originally drawn years ago, and then recolored it, digitized them because it's all original ink drawings, and then cleaned it up in Photoshop, and then turned it into an actual pattern.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So if your old work, if you hold on to that copyright, that's your legacy. And what you've been able to do there is go back to something you made, was published as a zine, and then give it new life as, it's in the Vieunite library so people can display it at home. But is that also on garments and things?
Yeah, I actually put that same design on Redbubble, so
Amazing.
still need to order it in though. But it does look pretty cool, so I'm very pleased. And but yeah, it's definitely something that I've been, since I joined licensing, which was only 2 years ago. It's been a real godsend to just literally dig work from good 10 years ago, and actually, change it into greeting cards, change it into, repeat patterns. Because I'm pretty new with the repeat pattern thing. I landed in it by accident. Not so much by accident. The person found it on my portfolio, and then asked me to do my first series of birds for garments. I mean, fabric, quilting fabric here in Australia. So it was a really cool thing. And then from then on, I went and contacted Artshine Licensing and applied to join their agency as well. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
So tell me about them. What do they do for you?
They've been fantastic in the sense of just new opportunities. They let me know if there's submissions, and they brought work to like Certex. It's a big pattern and product thing in in Vegas, and Vin's been fantastic in sending my stuff to people that might be companies that might be interested. So,
And that's in fact
I mean, that's how
how
you
your
guys.
work. It is, yeah. That's
Yeah.
we met. We met the guys at Artshine at Brand Licensing Europe in London, and
Yeah.
that was the beginning of our conversation.
That's so cool. So yeah, and that's they've been fantastic in getting more of my work out there, and in suggesting things that I should probably do if I want to be able to license more. That's another good thing, because they won't force you. No, they're not that sort. They won't, but they do suggest. If you want to get more stuff licensed, then these are the following things you need in your folio. So, and they've been great like that, and also coming up with things where it's never even occurred to me to, license my stuff to you guys, for instance. Like, I didn't think about that. When I made the pattern design, I was thinking that look cool in clothes, because I normally go to clothes first when it comes to pattern design, and then probably journals and all that. But I didn't think about putting it on a wall, for instance, because patterns and wall don't really click in my head too much. But it looks pretty good. So
No,
I just went,
absolutely.
wow, that's something that I didn't even think it. I didn't even think about it. So Artchine's been fantastic in that way, also, and just again, finding you different opportunities.
No, fantastic, and they were terrific to deal with. And I guess as an artist, they take a lot of the kind of contractual stuff, a lot of the networking, a lot of the time and effort that they put in on your behalf.
Yes. So, kind of like a more awesome Redbubble, more awesome print on
Perfect.
demand,
Yeah.
more human. I get to see them once a month at least.
Good. So tell me a bit about this piece of work, Mecca Sea Life. How did it come about? You say it started life in a zine.
Yes, well, I find that when I go through something big in life, that my themes switch over, and I started doing the fishbone thing after our breakup. And I don't know why, but it just struck. But sometimes, when you draw something for the first time, it was just a fishbone drawing. And I went, yeah, I like that. I'm just gonna keep doing more of that, and I did, and it just kept on evolving. There was ones with flowers, ones with steampunk, coral. I had one with that looked like a violin, and it just kept. And then, yeah, that's what happened during that stage where I was in a comic book studio at the time, Squish Face Studio, and that's when I had my zine and comic more comic-y face, and I went, you know what, I would like to draw a zine. I would like to make a zine of these characters, like all in the same, that are all in the same world, because the previous ones were a bit more erratic. Like I had like I said, I had ones with flowers and all sorts of things, and I just went, this one I just want it all mechanical. I just want it all Mecca like, and and I ended up with a 12-page zine.
So there are still these, it's still quite playful. There are these bunnies that are apparently steering these steampunky style fish-like contraptions, but the fish have got a kind of personality still. They're not just machines. They're not like, I don't know, cars or something. But they've all got this kind of, the fish all seem to be a little bit kind of, they have an attitude which isn't exactly whoopee.
What do you mean?
I mean, they don't look like. I mean, it's like much of the rest of your work is more obviously playful, joyful, whereas there's something about these fish that's a little bit, just getting on with just getting on with plodding through the water here. Not had a great day in the office.
Well, it was a bit darker.
It's interesting to know where it came from, maybe.
Yeah, well, nobody. Well, I don't know about nobody, but I don't normally go around going, Terrible breakup, but hey, great art that came out of it. Awesome. Need more of that.
Yeah.
I don't want more breakups though.
No, of course not. Of course not. It's
But
interesting to hear the backstory.
I think a lot of people do draw or even make music and all that based on some, emotional upheaval. Doesn't
Oh yeah.
necessarily have to be a break. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think art is art's something that's very easy to forget about. It's easy to kind of denigrate or take as being a kind of optional add-on, an optional extra.
mm,
There's a kind of attitude towards that, I think, in society. So, the creative industries might be incredibly valuable to the economy, but they're not considered to be that important relative to, say, the defense sector or tech or, any of the other kind of,
look,
big...
art is normally the one that gets the axe first.
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. It's like a kind of nice to have. But actually, there are these moments, aren't there? Whenever something bad happens in life, or even something really good, these kind of threshold moments of bereavement, of maybe joy at a new life or a marriage. So those kinds of the really big events. People turn to art then to try and make sense of their lives and their situation. And at that point, you realise, no, it's not an add-on. It's not an optional extra. It's a really important part of how we are as humans and how we make sense of our lives and locate ourselves in the world.
I think life would be really dull without some sort of art. I mean, everything has it. I mean, that's the thing. I know they take it for granted, but everything around you tends to have art, As soon as you have, like I said, pattern on your shirt, you're already exposed to art. You're listening to music, that is art. You play video games, that's another art. Yeah. Anything. Your kids, you wanting to distract your kids from doing anything else, and you shove them a bunch of crayons and say draw, and then regret it big time when it's on the walls. But but again, art, art is subjective. But anything that requires any form of creativity is actually art. So regardless
absolutely.
of whether or not it's appreciated. Yeah.
So art's obviously been a really big part of your life, and I'm sure that you can think of artists that mean a lot to you. If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I still would love to do it with Akira Toriyama is the guy that created Dragon Ball Z, and he died about a year or so back now. And I mean, like I said, my first male characters was based on his comic drawings. Probably not the best way to go on about it. They're being exaggerated and all, but I wouldn't have gotten into drawing dudes in the first place if it wasn't for his work. And then expanding on that, and Dragon Ball Z again was one of my first fan arty stuff that led to other fan art stuff. And so for me, I would love to hang with the guy and just watch him draw. I don't even have to do anything. Just sit there and draw me my favorite character, please. Thank you. Love you.
Wonderful. And he sounds like he's been a really big inspiration on your career and sort of seminal in getting you started in the first place. We're going all the way back to the first piece of work you shared on this interview.
Yeah, well, he did the comics and then there was an animation and I saw the animation TV series first, based on his work. So, I would love to. Yeah, I would have loved to have met him.
So let's have a look at something that you're working on right now. So what have you got for us to look forward to?
I totally forgot which artwork you're pointing at.
There are a few. So I can see some cakes.
Well,
some raccoons and some lips.
That's why I sent a whole bunch of pattern stuff. That's what you're all looking for, because that's kind of my goal for this year, is to bump up my surface pattern design portfolio. So most of the artwork that's now going up in my social media are all patterns. So I'm just trying to get better at it. It's one of the things that I feel like, though I started in 2020, my very first one, I still feel like I could get better at it and but actually make it more. When I first started it out, I always tried to make it more like an illustration and then make a pattern out of that, which hasn't really worked. Whereas nowadays I'm trying to make like the individual pieces and then make the illustration in Photoshop, which has for me is like it's like digital collage really, and that's been working so much better. And I've just been trying different things based on that. So I don't want to stick to an actual theme as of the moment. I just want to go, do whatever it is I feel like. And there's also a pattern challenge that I'm trying to follow weekly, but it's hashtag patterns Maha or Maja. And she's on Instagram at Maha_Faber. I don't know if I hope I didn't butcher her name. She's cool. But I've been following, it's just fun for me to just follow a weekly prompt just to keep pushing. And then, regardless of whether or not I feel inspired by it. But yeah, that's my thing for this year is to just try and focus making the patterns and not be too bogged down in thinking that I need to do this whole collection. I need to do this. I just think, I think I'm just going to go more organic. If certain styles end up matching at the end of the year, that's when I'll just lump it all up and go, yep, it was on purpose, totally by design. This whole group, they were meant to be together. It's like, okay.
Serendipity in the arts is so important. I'm looking at the moment at some fabulous axolotls. And they're clutching hearts, and they're making heart signs, and it's a kind of. This is really obviously joyful, exuberant as a piece of work. And what I can see in that is there's a kind of. Those are the fellows. So that's how they start. That's in a sketchbook. That's something that you drew one evening, I guess, after a hard day of animation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a color pencil.
Where did the idea to draw an axolotl come from?
I don't know. I just got inspired by it. And then it was Valentine's was coming up, and I went, well, better do something, I guess. It's like how they ask you in art school, right? Why did this painting come about? And then my thing is like, why can't it just come about? I'm inspired by anything, and you can be inspired by anything out there, So for me, it was I felt like I haven't drawn an axolotl. That was pretty much my reasoning, and I thought and I looked on Google and a whole bunch of images, and I said, "Oh, look how cute and pink they are! Valentine's is coming. Give them some hearts." Ta-da! So yeah, see, so all the hearts are separate and drawing, and then
they kind of are the cupids of the reptile world, aren't they? They've got.
They're adorable. They look fake. They look like Pokemon. So
Yeah.
Anything that looks like that deserves to be at least on a shirt at some point. Deserves to be drawn anyway. And a lot of people love those little guys. They're so cute.
Yeah. And what I can see in that is, I think it reflects what you were just talking about in terms of wanting to make it work more as a pattern. That there's a movement to the axolotl's body that's a little bit like a kind of paisley design in a way.
That was more of I'd say a happy accident. I like drawing things with movement. I don't like it dead flat if as much as possible. So sometimes it works. I feel like my raccoons, the ones I drew up as a pattern, were a bit more front on and eating. They weren't really moving, running, like that. But flowy things like axolotls or fish and all that, I like them when they look a bit more, I suppose, swishy.
Yeah. But the swishes kind of flow through the design. They're not, so as a kind of, as a pattern, that's when they become more of a pattern, isn't it? When there's a kind of sense of movement and connection across the surface as a whole.
I think it's yes, and I love it when I see patterns like that myself. So I always try and emulate that sort of thing, and I prefer things to be more animated. Ironic, called Animator. So things with a bit more movement because I think it just looks more dynamic. But
we can look forward to more of your surface designs like this over the next year, and No, and it would be exciting to see where these axolotl guys pop up.
Hopefully in Redbubble. That'd be good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll look out for that. Before we go, where can viewers see more of your work?
Instagram and my blog if they actually want to read what's going on in life in general. My blog is mostly just what I've drawn recently and why I've drawn it or that I felt like drawing it. And but Instagram is very much a real-time thing because I like to post a lot of stuff on my stories as I go about drawing them. So yeah.
And have you got anything that you particularly want to promote or share with our viewers?
Oh yeah, my book as well. That's,
Amazing.
That was released last year. So, but it's still in stores, including the UK, I believe. I think it went there. So, yeah, and in America, as well as Australia. But yeah, can still be ordered online as well if it's not in the store anymore. So
and
Amazon,
it's obviously
Booktopia.
it looks like it's got an aquatic theme as well.
For a little while, I had a huge aqua theme, like a big one, and then I got hired to do that as surface pattern designs for Kennard and Kenner, which I'd done a lot of designs for fabric for quilting fabric, and then the publisher saw those designs and went, "Hey, can you do one? Can you do the book?" And I went,
That's
and
incredible.
I went,
One thing leads on to the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, amazing.
And the beauty is that I can also use what I've drawn in this book and actually make it into pattern designs because I've already asked for permission and I have it all in writing because that's what you need to do. Always have it in writing.
And that is the product of a lifetime's experience in the industry, right there.
Have it in writing, boys and girls. If they
Absolutely.
just said it, it doesn't exist. It needs to be in writing somewhere,
Absolutely.
anywhere.
No, wonderful.
A text message.
Yeah. Wonderful. Marta, thank you so much for sharing your generous insights about
Thank you
your
for
work.
having me.
It's been amazing talking to you today, and I really look forward to seeing more of your work in the Vieunite Art Library. And I'm going to have my eyes peeled as I'm walking around town now, looking out to see if I can spot any of your designs on people's clothing. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great. And again, thank you for having me and, having me on Vieunite. It's an amazing opportunity, I think.
My pleasure. So, Marta, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on?
Though, yeah, and I was thinking maybe I was too harsh in art school. My first semester was pretty good before I transferred to the city. Mind you, again, nothing that I can get work in. I mean, I got a high mark for turning a milk bottle into a swan using plastic spoons. I mean, how far is that going to get me in life? What do you think?
Well, I think the creativity that you showed there is probably something that you use every day, although as a kind of it's not a sort of old master technique exactly.
Well, I'm sure nowadays with ChatGPT it could help me write an artist statement that'll get me a gig in no time. Get me in with the critics. Something about about recycling and and the juxtaposition of wildlife and man-made stuff.
So can I ask you though? I mean, like, is there any part of you that regrets not going down that path?
Which one?
Like the kind of fine art artist, gallery artist.
Well, I'm not dead yet, so there's always a chance that'll be the thing when I'm older, right? I mean, let's face it, a lot of artists that seem to like. There have been many not that many, but the cases that I have seen is like people in their 50s, 60s getting discovered in Archibald's and just painting and getting into galleries at that age. And I went, well, you never know. Regret though, I don't think so. I mean, It's expensive. I've done quite a few exhibitions, and it's pricey. Yes,
Yeah.
you know, you have to pay to get to enter your work, and then you have to pay again for it. And
It's
well,
easy
no,
to lose money as
you
an
pay
artist.
to enter your work, and then they take commissions after that, even if it sells, and you kind of
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
well,
No, there is a lot of exploitation in that kind of art, whereas the sort of milieu that you've found that you know you're expressing your creativity in, whether that's in animation or whether that's in the illustration and licensing that and taking charge of that for yourself, I think it's a very different kind of proposition, and quite frankly, much more likely to lead to viable income.
I mean, I think so. But then again, I did tell you that story about my barista friend, and he's pretty much done very well for
Yeah.
himself, making murals on walls and selling his artwork because he's gained quite a bit of a following.
Hmm.
And no, and he's very skillful. So, and he has a
Mm-hmm.
certain niche, very risque.
Okay.
I mean, you know, we're talking flowers with bits. And
Okay,
but
right.
not all of it, not all of
Yeah.
it. You know, this. But I'm saying, you know, stuff that
Yeah.
it's a little out there. I mean, technically, he's great anyway. Regardless, I mean, he draws flowers and walls and all that. I mean, one of the times when I met him was when he was literally drawing a mural in one of the no, he was drawing on yeah, he was drawing on a window or something, and I went, oh, that's cool. And then we just got chatting and stuff. So you know, you just don't know who you're gonna meet.